Welcome, August 2nd, 2024. It's so good to be back. I was in Africa the last couple of weeks on a mission trip. It was amazing. Helped a lot of people, fed a lot of people, clothed a lot of people. We think we got it bad. We're with a family that they couldn't even afford their $8 a month rent. And it's just tough over there, but very, very good to be back. All right, well, we have got invocation by Sandra Lee and pledge and four-way test by Sheila Cleveland. So Sandra, where did you go? All righty.
Yeah, if everyone would just bow with me, please. Father God, gosh, we want to just slow down, take a deep breath, and just put our focus on you. We are so grateful, like Steve said, just grateful to live in this country and to be in this place, and especially in this city. We're so grateful to be able to come together. We're grateful to be able to do good in our community. I pray, Father, that you would just cover us with your favor. Bring to our hearts and our forefront and our minds the areas that we can best serve. Bring to us opportunities. Help us, Father, to enjoy our processes, to just continue to engage and build relationship, to love one another, to help one another, and just to be open to ideas, opportunities, things that you put in our hearts. We lift all that we have up to you. We pray for the food. We just pray for your blessing. Everyone comes into this room with different situations, scenarios, struggles, challenges. I pray for your blessing over us, Father, and just help us to help each other, and just to put our focus on you in all that we do. We lift all that we have up to you, Father, and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Let's face the flag and say the Pledge of Allegiance together. I pledge allegiance and please follow me with four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5.
Thank you. And now we're going to have the introduction of the guests and visiting Rotarians. Jennifer Wayne, the floor is yours.
So have I mentioned to everybody here that school starts Monday?
Get the kids out of the house.
Yes. So we're going to start with Larry. He's having his own party over here today. So.
Well, since Scott was here today, I thought I'd try to put together a Belmont table, and I have come up with 3 outstanding candidates. Ken Warren, a lot of folks you know Ken, he's at Pinnacle Bank, a Belmont graduate, outstanding baseball player there. Bill Moore, as I told somebody a while ago, Bill Moore is my longest adult friend, whatever that means. Yes, what'd I say? No, my longest adult friend, and maybe my oldest, I don't know. But we've known each other a long time, done a lot of stuff together. He was a Belmont graduate, baseball player there. He's in their Hall of Fame, and he's a huge Belmont supporter. Sitting next to him is Logan Matthews. That's Bill's grandson, Belmont graduate, outstanding golfer there for 4 years. And so I'm glad they're here today to support Scott.
So our speaker brought a guest today. Jordan, do you want to introduce Greg, or Greg, you want to introduce yourself? It might be a little too soon for Scott.
I'm happy to do so. I won't put it on you, George. So my name is Greg Sage. I'm Associate Athletic Director at Belmont. I oversee athletic communication and broadcasting, work with Scott. This is my 20th year at Belmont. It's kind of it doesn't belies my age. I'm only 29, right? No, no, no. But yeah, work most closely with our men's basketball program. So I had the pleasure to work with Coach Bird for 16 years and now with Casey for 5. So thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
And Jason brought our next guest.
Yeah, today my guest is John Gray. He's with MCC Solutions. They have AV and printer solutions for you. They moved into a new building in Maryland, right on Maryland Way, and they'll have open house here in October. So look out for that. And as you can tell, he's a Georgia Bulldog. I don't know if Betsy's here, but he actually played tennis there and still plays tennis today. So welcome, John.
And Scott Robinson is back with us today. He is officially in our system. Do you want to, are you going to introduce yourself?
I'll let him say something, but I've been really excited to get to know Scott. In my role with membership growth, I love to get to know all these new members or new people who are interested in being part of something that makes a difference in our community. And that's been Scott's passion. I've already seen him just kind of that spark inside where he really wants to connect. And so I think that's the kind of member that we want to have here. So I'm thrilled that he's in process. Scott, you want to add anything?
I just want to say thank you all for being so nice to me while I've been here to visit. It makes it a lot easier to come back and see a bunch of faces I don't know. So looking forward to getting a chance to meet each and every one of you. And just want to be a good, helpful member of the team here.
And our last guest today is hosted by Banks.
So today I have with me Ryan Reed. He is a great asset to the city of Brentwood. We originally met at the tree board meeting. So not only is he a part of that, he is also part of the Parks Department here and is the president of the Lions Club, correct? Good. But the number one thing right now that me and him are doing is we're actually building a arboretum in Brentwood. So if you guys want to know more about that, please come talk to us.
And I guess we do have one more, our speaker from last week that I missed.
Terry. This is Terry Anderson. She was part of the program last week. We've been wonderful friends. Her husband is in the Air Force Academy and advised my daughter to help her get the Air Force scholarship, which was amazing. And then we've done wonderful fundraising work together, raising school fundraising booster club money. And she's also a member of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes and a end-of-life doula, hospice care. So she's amazing. So thank you for being here.
Thank you all for having my husband, my parents, my daughter, and myself here last week. Today is Ashlyn's 25th birthday, and she's in a wedding in Chattanooga, and she flies back to London tomorrow. So it was a short time to have her home, but thank you again for hosting her last Friday. And this is for Steve and your club. It's her signature in the book, and also a thank you note from Ashlyn.
Wow,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you. Tell Stuart I said hi. Thank you. I've known the family for a long time. Thank you very much. Is that it? All right, we are going to have Happy Bucks now. Our infamous Kip Dodson.
I'm putting in $5 because I'm happy Terry Anderson's here. Who's happy? Linus is happy. Linus, you always look happy.
I have my own microphone. Thank you for that.
He's an overachiever.
I'm happy to see my old friend Ryan Reed here today. Ryan, good to see you.
Jeff.
Just back from Alaska on Tuesday, had almost 2 weeks of a wonderful experience up there. Almost got hit by a calving glacier piece of ice. But there is the question that people ask, I saw a lot of wildlife. But one question about bears that people often ask, I can verify it's true.
About the Bears.
I'm happy because today is the anniversary. 69 years ago, my dad became a citizen of the U.S. from Norway.
Good job. Who else? Got Ray here. Yes, sir.
Wins, class of 84.
Oh, we got Jordan. Haven't even made it to the other side of the room yet. Happy people.
All right, so I'm putting in a little bit more because I've got a few things and kind of a big one to throw out there. But one, those of you know, I just got married not too long ago. My sweet husband is about to leave for his 6th deployment on Tuesday. So for those of you who are prayer warriors, I would so appreciate that. He'll be gone for about 6 months. But he has left me with a wonderful gift, and we are expecting our first.
That's super happy. That's super happy.
Okay, a little golf update.
Larry speaking.
Little golf update. Important. Just ask. Good week, not a great week, good week, but special thanks to John Kreft, came in with a sponsorship. Michael Kaplan came in with another sponsorship. Bart King came in with 3 sponsorships, total $1,400. Peggy Ray, is Peggy here? Peggy Ray, stand up. Peggy Ray, if you don't know, is a new member, and Peggy Ray has jumped all over this. She sold 2 sponsorships this week for $1,400 and is working on more, she tells me. So new members, we've got 10 new members that have never been involved with the golf before. Peggy is the person that you need to follow. So if you got questions about it, ask Peggy. She's done great. Thank you all so much. I got a email from a member this week with a question, and his leading line was #just ask. Just ask, guys. That's all it takes. I promise you. Thank you.
I've got $10 this week for 3 reasons I'm happy. One, I'm happy for my friend Lori, who announced her retirement this week. Congratulations. It's well earned. I'm also happy today for Sheila, who now has her final meeting as our school board representative in her sights, followed by a nice long vacation that's well deserved. So congratulations. And if you didn't know it, while Ray, it's great that you were cheering our Belmont Bruin speaker, he was originally a Brentwood Bruin. So, I think that trumps it.
Anyone else? Nope. Our bubblehead.
Happy day that our friend Dick Bowers is home. He was in St. Thomas Hospital for surgery. He had colon cancer. They got it all. He had a little problem getting the plumbing going, but he's home well now.
Good news.
Oh, okay. Hotty toddy. Hey, congratulations, Jordan. And good to have Georgia Bulldogs here. You're going down, though, in Oxford, Mississippi. You will suffer a defeat. Tennessee. Yeah. Well, you know what did you know that the toothbrush was invented at the University of Tennessee? You know why? Anywhere else it'd be called a toothbrush. And Devin, you shaved your beard. I don't know if you can envision Devin with a beard, but that was JD Vance.
I think you owe $5 more. Is there anyone else? All right, that was good.
All right, thank you, Kip. Appreciate it. Few announcements. This will be up every week when you come in. One of my objectives is to make sure that we know what's going on at all times. Ways to find out how to get involved. It'll always be up here, so please look. So the very next thing we've got is tomorrow night. It is at my house. It's the Meet the President event. It is a social event. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's 6 to 8 p.m. If you want to stay till midnight, I'll be in bed. But please come. If you happen to not RSVP, still come. I don't want anybody not to come just because of it. So if you do, I'll slap your hand when you take some food, but no, I'm kidding. But please come, bring your spouse, bring a +1. Come at 8 o'clock, come at 6 o'clock, anywhere in between. It's kind of a come and go thing. Stay the whole time if you like, but love to see you there. I'm gonna say one quick thing about the tournament we have coming up, raising funds. One of the things that I am actually doing, and I'm gonna do this weekend, I have 1,000 Facebook friends and 900 LinkedIn. And I promise you, I know every Facebook friend. I don't accept a friend if I don't know somebody. But I am actually going to put up a post about our golf tournament, asking people to donate with the link. And so you may want to consider that. So I'm figuring out of 1,900, maybe I can get 10 or 20. I mean, that's 1%. Why not try, right? So I'm going to try that and I'll let you guys know how that works. So hopefully it'll work out pretty well. And Jared, I know you're a Facebook friend, so you better donate when I put it on my site, okay? Now, if you want to share for your site, go ahead. That'd be great. So also do not forget, I know it's a little over a month away, but we do have our first responders picnic on the 12th. I love to see some really good attendance. That is our meeting that Thursday night at 5. The last couple of years, we've had some really, really low attendance. Last year, you know, it was a little embarrassing. You know, it felt like we had more first responders than we did Rotarians. So please come. That will be our meeting because we don't have a meeting next day. So you'll have a lot of reminders. There's no reason why you can't come, even if you can come by a little bit. But it's at 5 o'clock. That will be our meeting. So try to come. Try to come if you can. All right. Oh, and also at the end, Terry and the Anderson family, wonderful, beautiful card. Please look at it at the end. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I used to work with Stuart 22 years ago. Wow, he must be old. Anyway, Jordan, introduce our guest.
Hi, y'all. Happy Friday. We have made it. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing our speaker, Mr. Scott Corley. I know a lot of you in this room already know this gentleman, so this may be information you already know, but for those of you who don't, he's quite the gentleman. Scott Corley began his 9th year leading Belmont University Athletics as Vice President and Director of Athletics. Under his leadership, Belmont Athletics has seen tremendous success and continues to be a beacon for producing high-quality student athletes. He has also overseen transformational improvements to its athletic facility portfolio, most notably opening the Crockett Center for Athletic Excellence and the Rose Park Indoor Practice Facility benefiting baseball, softball, men's and women's golf. Corley currently serves on the Division I AAA Athletics Directors Association leadership team and has served on the board of the Nashville Sports Council since 2014. He attended and graduated, as previously stated, from Brentwood High School, where he was a successful basketball player. He went on to play at Belmont and was a legendary coach Rick Bird's first recruit. The shooting guard led Belmont to 90 victories over 4 seasons and the program's first ever NAIA national tournament berth in 1989. Corley is one of only 8 players in the history of Belmont basketball to score over 2,000 career points and still holds the program record for made 3-pointers in a career at 420. He earned his bachelor's degree in business administration from Belmont and received his master's degree in business administration from Samford University. He spent over 25 years in the Nashville community as a banker with First Bank, Regions, and SunTrust before returning to take the athletic director's position at his alma mater in 2016. Without further ado, Mr. Scott Corley.
Thanks so much, Jordan. Man, this is fun for me. I see a lot of old friends, and I appreciate the support from the Belmont folks in the room here. I was just reflecting back in 1981, I moved up to Brentwood from New Orleans. And I literally grew up no more than 5 minutes away in Brent Haven, where my mom still is in that house. And so while I married a lady from Hendersonville and I live there now, it's always fun to come back to Brentwood, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you guys today and share a little bit about my favorite topic, and that's Belmont. Obviously, based on what Jordan shared, Belmont's a place that's been very important in my life. I got to play for Rick Byrd. After playing for, I would also include legendary coach Dennis King at Brentwood High. Yes, my sophomore year is when Coach King joined Brentwood High, and it was a unbelievable opportunity to learn from him. I owe him so much. He would run me a lot of plays so I could get open shots, and it helped me get a scholarship to Belmont. So I'm indebted to Coach King. But to get to play for Coach King and then Rick Byrd is they've been two influential people in my life and helped me get to where I am today. And I'll share a little bit more about them and hopefully some of the leadership things that I've learned from them. But I wanted to spend a little time just giving a brief update on Belmont. After, we're going to do Belmont University real quick, then athletics, and then we can open it up to Q&A about the college landscape. I could probably talk for 3 hours and y'all would still have a lot of questions, but I want to leave time for a lot of Q&A on that because it's an incredibly tumultuous time in Division I athletics. So with that, it's a little... Yeah, don't forget the social tomorrow night. All right, there we go. So just real quick, hopefully you guys are somewhat familiar with Belmont, but I'm amazed how many don't realize the tremendous improvement that's been going on our campus. We're about 9,000 students now, about 7,500 undergrad, which is larger than Vanderbilt, believe it or not. We have a beautiful campus. If anyone has not been on our campus, I'd highly recommend, or if you've got high school age kids that want to look at a beautiful campus, I would recommend our campus. It's just down from Music Row, near the heart of downtown Nashville. And it is amazing. As far as our academic programs, we're probably most noted for music business and performance. Some of our alums are Trisha Yearwood, Brad Paisley, Florida Georgia Line, both Tyler and Brian graduated. Brian was actually a baseball player at Belmont. We also have a tremendous business program. One of our entrepreneurship programs, one of the tops in the country, and really speaks to a lot of what's going on our campus. We are trying to be innovators in the space of higher ed, and the entrepreneurship program and all that is kind of in our DNA. As far as graduate programs, you can see probably certainly very strong in our law school. We've got the highest placement rate for graduating students from our law program. We're very, very proud of that. That's being led by former Attorney General of the United States, Alberto Gonzales. So those are just some of the things there. When you look at the vision, I guess about 3 years ago, Greg Jones, who I think spoke to this group, he came from Duke University, where he was dean of the Divinity School. Greg took over being president of Belmont 3 years ago. He's going into year 4, and he cast a pretty aggressive vision for what he wants Belmont to grow into, and that's to be the leading Christ-centered university in the world. Radically champion the pursuit of life abundant and for all people. Very bold statement. Not sure how you measure that, but it's probably one of those we'll know if we ever get there. But we're trying to change, higher education's under attack, and we're trying to take an approach where we want to develop leaders that have character. We think that's missing in a lot of areas in this country, and we want to develop our students holistically, spiritually, et cetera. And that's one thing in athletics you'll see that we really embrace that. In the day of Division I athletics, where it's about money and transactional relationships, we still want to stay true to our core values of a holistic development of our student athletes, because we know not many of them are going to go on and make a career playing professionally. The last point is really exciting for us. We just opened last week the Frisk College of Medicine. It is going to, our first class of 50 students. We're going to grow that over time, obviously, but we got a really high quality class of incoming students for that program. And that's just an amazing, addition to what we're doing at Belmont University, and it'll benefit the Nashville community and Middle Tennessee community. So now jumping into athletics, we are a member of the Missouri Valley Conference. We made that move 2 years ago. We were in the Ohio Valley Conference, which actually had the conference offices are here in Brentwood. But the decision was made with Greg coming in that we wanted to kind of expand our reach, get into a higher, more competitive conference with similar schools like Belmont. When we were in the OVC, we were literally the only private school and one of only 3 schools that didn't have football. With the Missouri Valley, it is all about basketball, and there's about a half private, half public. So it just felt like a better fit for us, got us into larger markets, as you'll see on the next map. But, we've got 17 sports, most noted for basketball, for sure, men's and women's basketball. Those are our premier sports. In general, about 270 to 200 student athletes at any one time. And I just point out our kind of cultural core values, which are extremely important in today's world of athletics to stay focused on. And it was an amazing culture that I inherited 8 years ago. Mike Strickland, the previous AD, did a wonderful job with the culture. And Coach Bird and Betty Wiseman, kind of the matriarch of our program, also had a huge role in the culture and what the things we value. And we want to just continue to do that. And I've tried to do that under my leadership. And some of those are tough. Look, integrity's tough in college athletics. Not many of them have it at a certain level. And so, we are really excited about kind of those core values and drive us every day. So this is a brief map of the Missouri Valley. Probably a lot of y'all may not know the schools in this conference. For us, it certainly increased our travel. You can see Drake and UNI up in Iowa. We now go up to Chicago area, Illinois, Chicago, and Valparaiso. And just, for us, it's a good mix. Again, it's a much better basketball league. The Ohio Valley was probably ranked 24 out of 32. The Missouri Valley's 10 out of 32. And so makes it a little tougher for us, but I think it's going to help make us better. This is something we're extremely proud of, and it's something that has been part of our department for a number of years. You can see 26 years we've had a department GPA over 3.0. This last year, the total GPA was over 3.5. Our women's basketball team, as an example, they won 20 games this year. They're really, really good. And they had a team GPA of 3.8, and it was number 5 in the country. Number 5 in the country. Thank you. We haven't announced it publicly yet, but we won the All Academic Award in the Missouri Valley again for the second year in a row. And that's now 20 out of 22 years we've won that award in whatever conference we've been in. So thank you. Good news is too, they're not only smart in the classroom, but they get it done on the field of play. Obviously our goal is to get in the NCAA tournament with as many sports as we can. That's the ultimate for those student athletes. And we've had a lot of success doing that. And I'm also proud to say, in last 6 years, maybe 7 now, Greg, don't check me too close, but we've had 2 NBA first-round draft picks. Ben Shepherd last year got drafted by the Indiana Pacers and had an incredible rookie season. And 5 years before that, Dylan Windler got drafted by the Cleveland Cavaliers. And so there's not many schools at our level. I think there's only one, and I'm not counting Gonzaga or Houston. They're kind of funded like a Power 4. But there's only one other school in the country who can say that. And I give $10 if anybody knows who that is. Not you, Greg. Santa Clara of all schools. But, and those guys are out there representing us so well in the NBA. I think this slide will resonate with everybody in Rotary. You know, with the academics, what they're doing on the field of play, they still find time to give back to the community. This past year, we were 4th in the nation as far as community service. And we did over 7,500 community service hours as a department, which is asking a lot, but our student athletes and coaches embrace it. They find time for it. They understand that's part of our student athletes' development and understanding of giving back that hopefully carries on when they leave Belmont. And they become members of Rotaries wherever they live and things like that. The other thing, we allow, being at a Christ-centered university, certainly the opportunity for our student athletes to grow spiritually. And back in 1995, Betty Wiseman, many of y'all may know, again, she's a matriarch of Belmont Athletics. She started our women's basketball program in 1968, basically by herself with no money, 4 years before Title IX, and coached that for about 10 or 15 years. And then she stayed on in an administrative role for another 20 to 25 years. And Greg Jones has asked her back to campus. She's that good. She's 81 years old, and she is there to help students on our campus who are going through any challenges. Because Betty was from Portland, Tennessee, and she made Belmont home, and she speaks about that, and she's amazing. But one of the things she did is she started our mission trips. She started taking a team or 10, 11 athletes who wanted to go on mission trips. And in 95, I think Poland was the first trip. And ironically enough, this past year, or literally about a month, or well, over spring break, I guess it was, 10 to, I think it was 11 students went to Poland. But in between, we've been to all kinds of places. And this year, I'm excited to say we had over 75 student athletes take a mission trip. If you think of the number, that's 1/4. That's almost 25% of our student athletes are getting to do that. And a lot of times when I talk to student athletes, when they come back 5, 10 years, and I ask them what are their fondest memories of Belmont, and some of these have gone to NCAA tournaments. The ones that go on the mission trip say that's the most impactful thing, and the thing they remember the most from their time at Belmont. All right, now to the fun stuff. As I said earlier, I mean, Division I athletics is going through unprecedented change, and these are some of the things that we're all dealing with. And it started a couple years ago. Well, started a little bit before then, but when name, image, and likeness became legal, which it should have been a long time ago in the truest sense of NIL. There was no reason student athletes shouldn't make money from a jersey sale, or if they wanted to do lessons or these things. And the NCAA was really, they didn't want to budge on that for a number of years. And as the money continued to grow in the NCAA, you kind of lost the messaging that it's true amateurism. And so the courts kind of got involved, and NIL passed. And that wasn't necessarily the only factor. It was the factor that it passed at the same time that student athletes didn't have to sit out a year if they transferred. So in the past, football and basketball players and baseball, and I think it was ice hockey, kind of random. If you wanted to switch schools, you would have to sit out a year before you could play again. Well, that changed with all the court rulings as well. And now in our sport, you basically can have unlimited free agency every year. And that's been really tough for us at the mid-major level. And to give you a sense of what we dealt with this past season, our 3 best basketball players on the men's side, they were sophomores, going to be rising juniors. They all went into the transfer portal. They ended up at North Carolina, one at North Carolina, one at Maryland, and one at Ole Miss. So really good players. They all got at least $500,000. Yeah, wow is right. Yeah. we know a lot of Power Four programs just in basketball have $3 to $5 million NIL budgets through their collective. So no better time to be a Division I really good student athlete than now, but it makes it really challenging for us. I mean, we invest in these kids. Before all these rules changed, just to give you an idea, Coach Bird coached for 33 years, and I think we had 2 transfers. This year alone, we're going to have 9 guys on our roster that have never played for Belmont. So when you go through the transfer portal and you're trying to recruit a kid, it's like speed dating. You got to make decisions in a short amount of time to truly say, is this individual going to be a fit for our program? There's obviously a reason they're in the portal. What are the reasons? Is it lack of playing time, which may be, and that's okay. But if it's a disgruntled player or somebody who's not a good teammate, those types of things, it's really hard to do that in a short amount of time. So a lot of our coaches, they'll try to focus on kids they recruited out of high school that maybe not came to Belmont, but we know them and their families well. So that's just one of the challenges. Certainly a lot of what drove this was conference realignment, quite honestly. We don't have a Pac-12 now. In the NCAA was, and particularly at the Power Four level, pretty hypocritical when they talk about student athlete experience, and yet they allow USC and UCLA and Washington and Oregon to join the Big Ten. I mean, that's where it's frustrating for me, because we are all about student athlete development, graduating the kids, giving them the skills that they need to be successful when their playing days are over. And, the Power Four, let's call it what it is. It's become big business. And it makes it tough. Makes it tough because the rich get richer. But at the same time, we love the challenge. It's always kind of been that way. If we're recruiting against Tennessee, we're not going to get that kid. We never were. But now where it gets tough is we bring them in as freshmen, and we develop them, and then UT gets them or North Carolina or whoever it is. But, so how have I tried to lead during this turbulent time? I think first and foremost, as any leader in this room can attest, when times get tough, you better make sure your core values and your North Star are clearly defined, and you better continue to remind your troops and your staff that's, remind them why we're in this business. Why did we get in this business? What's our why? And we can't let 3 men's basketball players distract us from the job of helping those 267 other student athletes who really who really value everything Belmont can provide. So I think as a leader, I've tried to be consistent with the messaging to remind them of our why. I think the other thing I've tried to do is candidly be empathetic. It is a tough time for head coaches and assistant coaches. It is a really tough time. Like I said, they spend time getting to know these kids, their families. They're on the road recruiting away from their families. They know they've got a good player, and then they lose them. And they don't have an off season hardly at all anymore. So I've tried to be empathetic. I've tried to be a sounding board. I've tried to make sure they understand. I recognize the challenges they're facing, and then also try to keep them motivated. And remind them that Belmont's always punched above our weight. And if we can get into the NCAA basketball tournament, anything can happen. We've seen it, right? St. Peter's beats Kentucky. Anything can happen. So it's one of the greatest examples of the underdog beating. I'm sorry. Oh, well. How's it Arkansas now, right? It's a new day for Kentucky basketball. You poor guys, y'all haven't had anything to cheer for in so many years. I'm kind of joking that Kentucky basketball is the pinnacle. I think the other thing I've tried to do as a leader, that I learned pretty early on, and I think it's even more important now, is just being present. When I show up to watch our women's soccer team or watch our track and field athletes compete, I was surprised how much they appreciated that and understood that I was taking time to really come out and support them. And I think any good leader needs to do that for their staff. I try to walk around the office. I try to get to know them. I do a thing, Coffee with Corley, where I try to meet with everybody that's not a direct report and just go have coffee and spend an hour with them and get to kind of know them, let them get to know me better. Use that as a time to continue to focus on the core values and the mission and make sure they all understand that. But at the end of the day, one thing Coach Bird taught me and said it early on, and I've tried to take this to heart, and that's to be a humble leader. Is his saying was, "It's amazing what can be accomplished when no one cares who gets the credit." And I went to Belmont, it was his first year. I was his first recruit. I remember the first team meeting, and he goes, "We don't do any individual honors on this team." Typically at the end of the year, even Brentwood, we did who was the most valuable player, who was the best offensive player, who was the best defensive player, and all this stuff. And Coach Berg said, "We're not doing it. Everybody from 1 to 15 on the roster and the managers got the same thing at the end of the year." And that really resonated with me, to say, you know what, we are all in this together, and I'm no bigger than anyone in my department. I get to do these things and brag about my department, and I'm happy to do that. But I really thought Coach Bird embodied that humility of a servant leader, and I've tried to emulate that over the time. The last thing I'd say, I spoke to our women's soccer team today, and one thing we're facing in today is this mental health challenge, with all the pressures of the student athlete, and it's only getting worse. Let's be honest. Social media can be very, very nasty to even our student athletes, particularly as gambling has increased. Our guys and ladies will get nasty comments if they don't win by a certain point total. And I can't imagine what it's like for Georgia football, Kentucky basketball, et cetera. But one thing I tried to share with them, and I heard this, not too long ago, comparison is the thief of joy. Too many times we're trying to compare, hey, what's this athletic department doing? Our student athletes are on social media comparing to, well, they get to travel that way, or they get to wear all this gear, or they, socially, in their lives, that so-and-so gets to go on this great trip. And I try to remind myself and our staff and our student athletes is just find joy in what you're doing, every day. And don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Because that has no impact or should have no impact on how you approach your day, how you approach being a good teammate, how you approach being a good leader. And so that's kind of something I've been trying to focus on and trying to help our student athletes navigate a very challenging time. But I'll open it up for questions. I just really appreciate the time to share. Yes, sir.
It's amazing what you're doing, trying to shape the lives of these young people in this environment. I have a college student who's not a college athlete, but all of his friends gamble because you can do it on your phone, and a couple of them are becoming addicts. It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
So a lot of these guys are amazing sports guys, and they're going to ask you really intelligent questions. This is not going to be one of those. As a member of the community of people who like sports but don't follow it every day, it seems to me that college athletics has been a professional athletic organization for decades. You're just now paying your workers. And now you're in a situation where you're being forced to really treat it like a professional enterprise with paid players and people exercising their freedom of work, at different places. things that are guaranteed to people once they're over 22 and not at the NCAA. Are you going to get to a point where you're just going to have to say, look, we have football and basketball, whatever the revenue sports are. We are running a professional team, and it just is going to look different than the rest of the university. Or we just can't be part of this game, which I know is very antithetical to you. I hear your mission coming loud and clear, but can you avoid it?
Yeah, great question. What I would say is certainly at the Power 4 level, they have the revenue to sustain the model that we're moving to. What people don't realize is most of us are not making any money, and we are a part of the university and should continue to be part of the university's mission. Now, where it is heading, it is going to be difficult to sustain the number of programs and those types of things, particularly if it does become a full employment model where we are paying an hourly rate and we have workers' comp and we have overtime. I honestly, I don't even know how you would logistically do it. But if we got to that model, I would say it would be very difficult for schools like us to have 15 sports. And that's a shame, because I'm telling you, at Belmont, there's only two maybe that have gone on to play professionally in the last year. And to not afford the opportunity that athletics would provide so many of our student athletes because of the scholarships and other opportunities, they're going to miss out on a lot of life-forming opportunities. And that will be the very difficult part of if we continue down this path. I think the Power 4, they're kind of playing in their own space now. We've had, a lot of it does trickle down to us, so we've got to make some hard decisions on how are we going to remain competitive, at least amongst our peers. But it's that there is a part of it that is certainly moving to where, and I think even in the Power 4, you're going to see a lot of schools de-emphasize certain sports just to make sure they're good in football and basketball. Yes.
I'm going to choose your question. Has Belmont ever thought of adding wrestling?
At this point, we have not. We have not really been. We haven't looked at adding any sports recently. Some of the people add sports. It's a lot of universities do it for enrollment reasons. We've been blessed at Belmont to have enrollment growth where we haven't needed to. And when you're only on 93 acres, there's just a lot of challenges that come with adding different sports. So we have not. Yes.
Yeah. Moan?
You are.
I want to applaud the job you do because, part of that equation is whether people like it or not. I mean, kind of football pretty much drives the budgets.
100%.
And even at Kentucky, I mean, football, I think revenue is bigger in football than basketball. Yeah. But with the Title IX, getting back to Charles, with Title IX, you got to carry so many sports, and usually that's on the women's side. Nothing wrong with women's sports, right? But I even look at the group or the Power 4, and now you got Oregon playing Rutgers in women's volleyball. I mean, that's gotta be a huge strain on the budget. You guys don't have football. Now you're playing Drake in whatever it is, women's volleyball.
Mm-hmm.
How do you bring all that together? I mean, is there a point where you're almost, looking at cutting certain areas of it?
Well, we certainly don't want to do that. I mean, obviously for us, going from the Ohio Valley, which was we could bus everywhere, to now in the Missouri Valley, we're having to fly.
Right.
Travel was our biggest expense increase. And so, we were able to fundraise a lot of those dollars from outside the university. But, those are just equations you got to make. By moving to the Valley, we feel we have a better chance to improve our brand nationally. If we can get into the tournament, the basketball tournaments, we have a greater chance to probably go farther because we won't be a 15 or 16 seed playing a 1 or a 2. We'll be in that 10, 11 range. So hopefully that gives you, so there's a lot of factors that go into that calculation. Yes, I mean, I agree with you on the Power Four. It's going to be, it doesn't make any sense that Stanford's going to fly to play North Carolina in women's soccer. I mean, but they have the money that because of the media right deals and the football playoff money and those types of things to offset a lot of those expenses.
I guess the TV exposure with the
Yes.
Missouri
Yep.
filing is.
Yep, and just bigger markets.
All right.
Yes.
Normally I would just ask you your thoughts on the NIL or the transfer portal. But I did like hearing that a fourth of your student athletes are getting involved with mission trips. So I was just curious if there was one that stood out with you that you either enjoyed the most or had the biggest influence on you.
I did not take a mission trip when I was a student athlete, and I've not been able to join them on one just yet. So I can't speak to that. Yes.
Okay, I have a question. Well, first of all, I love Belmont. My daughter graduated commercial music. She met her husband who was recruited to be a soccer player from Argentina. So he played soccer. And then my niece came down and graduated in music business. And I work with Alberto and Chaz Corzine and Fisher Center. So I love Belmont. Thank you for being here. I'm a Belmont rah-rah. But my question is this. I've always been focused on the commercial music side because my daughter, my niece, but Carlos was in, playing soccer. Have you seen a shift? I've seen so much information now on the athletics. Is there a shift in the focus in recruiting students to Belmont from the commercial music department and or law or athletics? Just wondering what the dynamics are now in actually recruiting students to come to Belmont.
Yeah. Good question. Getting into the enrollment side of things. I mean, we are all in higher education, as you know, facing an enrollment cliff. For those that may not know it, there's going to be 1 million less 18-year-olds in a couple of years. And so we're all fighting for market share with, that demographic challenge. And so we are having to relook everything on how we do that. And that may lead to us addressing, do we take on additional sports? I can speak to athletics. I mean, one thing we are trying to do probably in the university level, when we look at where we can grow, international students is certainly an area where we've got to be able to attract more. And when we do, can make sure they have the resources and the support needed to be successful when they leave their country and come to Belmont. And so that is part of it. I think on the commercial music side, we've got a Belmont West in California. That is a great opportunity to attract students from that part of the world. We have a Belmont up in New York. Belmont East is what we call it. We're opening one similar in Atlanta. So we're doing things in Atlanta. So yes, we're trying to get our outreach more into those markets where they can learn more about Belmont in their geographical areas. Yep. Yes.
As this turmoil around chaos that college athletics tends to stable out as it must, do you envision some kind of formal relationships between the mid-majors such as yourselves and the Power Fives or Power Fours, similar to what happens in professional baseball? And second, what is the role of the NC2A in that world?
Yeah. In a way, we are, unfortunately, if I understand your first question, we are serving as a feeder system to the Power Four. A lot of coaches in football, even, and particularly I can speak to basketball, the Power Four head coaches are not recruiting high school kids. They're literally not recruiting them unless you're top 200 in the country. They're not recruiting because they will then let us get this really good player, help develop them for a year or two, and then they come swooping in and they realize that kid can play and we can further, we can take that well-developed kid from Belmont and add him to our system and help us win. So did that answer your question? Kind of feeder system? No, I don't know about formalizing. I mean, I mean, again, a kid can go to any school he wants and can get recruited now by any school he wants. So I don't know about formalizing it where we have a relationship with X schools and we're gonna, you know, develop them just so those schools can then poach them. We don't want to lose our kids. As far as the NCAA, great question. I do think there's the value the NCAA plays for a lot of us. And it's not, you got to remember, it's not just Division I, it's Division II and Division III. They run all the championships. There's over 90 championships amongst those three divisions that the NCAA, to their credit, they're very good at running. And those are important for the student athlete experience to have a high level, high quality championship experience. As far as the other stuff, enforcement's going to be interesting. Part of this new settlement, which I didn't even talk about, this House settlement, they're changing the potential for who enforces things going forward. And so that is to be determined. One more last question.
Thank you. I want to leave you with hope. Praise God. My son played for Franklin High School, O-line left tackle, and is at Stanford University in California now.
Oh, wow.
And I believe that there are athletes, I don't know the percentage, but they stay true to their commitment to their coaches, to their school. It's just old school, steadfast commitment. And I want to say there are still the hope of those out there. So thank you, Scott.
Well, thank you. I'm hopeful too.
Hey, Scott, on behalf of the Brentwood Rotary Club, we'd like to give you a gift, a pen. But as soon as we dismiss, we'd like you to sign it, because what we do, sign the book. We read this to young elementary school students.
Fantastic.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Before we leave, I'd like to thank all the visitors for attending. Logan, Bill, Ken, Scott, Greg, John, Ryan, Terry, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Also wanted to mention real quickly, we got a letter from Settle Up. We donated money to their organization as part of what we do. They sent a really nice letter of thank you. So if there's anything else for Good of Rotary, we are dismissed. Y'all have a great day. Stack the chairs, please.